Hi, friend. This is Alex McRobbs, founder of the Mindful Life Practice, and you're listening to the Sober Yoga Girl podcast. I'm a Canadian who moved across the world to the Middle East at age 23, and I never went back. I got sober in 2019, and I now live full-time in Bali, Indonesia. I've made it my mission to help other women around the world stop drinking, start yoga, and change their lives through my online Sober Girls Yoga community. You're not alone, and a sober life can be fun and fulfilling. Let me show you how.
Group. There we go. Yay, we're here. Okay, amazing. So, hello everyone. Good morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the world. We are coming at you today from, I think, the furthest possible time zones. Maybe Melbourne, Australia is a little bit further, but Shanna is all the way in Las Vegas and it's 6 a.m. and I'm all the way in Bali and it's 9 p.m. at night. And we are doing this live together today because it is Shanna's 1 year sober today. So congratulations.
Thank you so much for having me here in this live. I'm so excited to be here.
It's so nice to have you. And I was wondering if you were saying something right when we got on the call before we kind of sorted through all the technical difficulties and got it going. But you were saying something about how good it felt to wake up this morning and just thinking about, it being your 1 year. And so I was just wondering if you could kind of synthesize like how that felt today.
Yes. So last night was Halloween weekend, and you know how it is with kids and trick-or-treating, and it was 4 days of festivities with, the kids and parties and events and dressing up and always having to be somewhere for 4 days in a row. And the kids were out of school. And I seriously would not be able to wake up here today at 4 o'clock in the morning because I was so excited for this live. If I was hungover, I would be feeling so exhausted, tired, cranky. I wouldn't want to do a live like this. I would just want to sleep in my bed and, I would feel terrible. So I just feel so good this morning. I'm not hungover. I'm a little tired because it's been 4 days of festivities and, that's not so bad. I have a tennis match today, so I'll have enough energy to play tennis also. And yeah, so 1 year and feeling really amazing.
That is amazing. Congratulations. And it's really special to be doing this milestone and celebrating with you live. So I think we corresponded like a little while back about doing podcast episodes, and you told me November 1st was your 1 year. And I was like, let's do a live. So we've been talking about it for like a period of time, and it's really exciting to finally be here and doing it.
It's unbelievable that I even made it the year. And I was telling myself, I'm going to do a year and see how I feel. And, who knows what will happen after the year. But since this year has come, I've been thinking a lot about, okay, what is the next year going to look like for me? Am I going to, mindfully drink? But I don't want to. I really want to take another year off and, be alcohol free. And it might just continue. I don't know what that's going to look like, but for me right now, it's definitely going to be another year alcohol free because it's just all of the transformations have been miraculously available to me.
That's amazing. So I was wondering if you could share with us a little bit about your journey pre-sobriety, like what led you to that moment last year on November 1st when you decided like it's going to be a year off?
So pre-journey, the beginning of this journey started, when I was a kid, because my parents, alcohol, is just been embedded in my family history. My mom was pretty deep in her alcoholism when I moved in with my aunt, and I told myself that I wouldn't be a drinker and I would, live life not drinking. But then I moved to Las Vegas and I, found that everybody drank, and it was just a part of everyday society out here in Las Vegas. And so I became a big party girl and in my 20s, But then when I was 29, I was pregnant with my daughter, my first daughter, and I just kept that in my mind, like, do I want to be a drinker while I'm raising children? Well, my daughter is 13 years old now, and it's still been in the back of my mind. And when I was in my first yoga teacher training, I began to see that there is another way, other than living this life of drinking. When you're celebrating, when you're stressed, there's always a reason to drink. So in my first yoga teacher training, I began to see a different way and living a life of health and wellness and healing our bodies from the inside and out. So through that mindset that I was creating for myself, I decided, that it's time to quit. And I was really stressed out during that time also. I was volunteering for my daughter's school. I was, trying to drink and have fun and, have all of these stressors on my plate at all times, but I wasn't really taking care of the problem while I was drinking. And the problem was just not being mindful of my life and being there for my family. And so when my family was there all the time and I was there for them as a stay-at-home mom, I still wasn't really present with them. I wasn't there helping my kids with their homework, and I was taking them to all their sports and everything, but at the same time I just couldn't wait to get my next glass of wine. And it was always in the back of my mind of, oh, I'm going to have a glass of wine while I'm making dinner. Or, oh, I've had the worst day in the world, I have to have a glass of wine, or whatever it is. It was just creeped in a lot. So what happened for me, the reason why I decided to quit in 2019 was my first yoga teacher training. And it was Halloween. It was Halloween weekend, and I was already thinking, and I was doing so many 30-day challenges, 60-day challenges, and I felt good in that time. But before, I just couldn't wait until the 30 days were up, so I can have my drink. Okay. I'm totally fine because it's been 30 days and I didn't have a drink, but it was always there in my mind. Like I couldn't wait to have it. So the addiction was still in me. And when on Halloween of last year, I still was thinking, like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to quit for good? And I was trick-or-treating with my daughters, and I had my glass of wine in my hand, and I had my dogs, both of my dogs. I have a French bulldog and a Labrador, and they're both very strong, and they're just pulling me all over the place. And I had my phone in my hand, and my daughters are going all over the place trick-or-treating and coming back, and it was just a lot of chaos. And I only had 2 drinks that night, but I was drunk. And I dropped my phone. You know how you drop it on the ground and the screen cracks? And I didn't even know that it cracked. And my husband was so mad at me. He was like, what's going on? You're all over the place and you're not, paying attention to things. And I told him I only had 2 drinks. And he's like, it doesn't really matter because it affects you so much. And that's when I said, okay, I quit. It was just like, it clicked. And I said, okay, I'll give myself a year and, see how I feel. So,
wow, what a story. And I think, I love hearing all different stories. And I love your story in particular, because I just feel like there's probably so many people listening to it that can relate to this. They're thinking like, I don't know if I have a drinking problem. Like I just, drink a little too much, but it's just causing harm in my life, or it's impeding my way that I can be present for my kids. And I just think there's probably so many people out there and mothers who can relate to this story and say, I'm not like
I'm not necessarily out of control per se, but it's just not working for me. And is that okay for me to quit? And so I just love hearing different stories of ending up in the same destination.
Yeah. And one of the biggest things for me was realizing, in my first teacher training in 2019 to now, or, right when I quit, noticing the effects of alcohol in our bodies with each drink and being mindful. Okay, so how does this one drink affect me? And if we can remember to be mindful of that and seeing how that feels and realizing, oh, that doesn't make me feel good, okay. Or, like after that buzz goes away, like how does it make you feel? And so that helped me in my transformation to quit.
Yeah, that's
Also.
amazing. And that's like an extension of your mindfulness practice on your yoga mat, right? Like when we're going through our yoga practice, our teachers are saying to us, like, if this doesn't feel good, like just get really in tune with your body. And if this pose doesn't feel good for you, don't do it. And that's kind of like the same thing. Like if this drink is not making you feel good, then just don't do it. And it's like an extension of just applying that mindfulness to things beyond our yoga practice.
Definitely. Yeah. So, and it takes practice. It's not easy, but that is the path that you can try to see if it works for you. If you're interested in quitting and you're trying to figure out ways, to even cut back, just being mindful of every single drink you take.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a really good point. Because it probably seemed really simple what I just said. If it doesn't feel good, don't do. We all know that took us like years to kind of get to that point. It's not super easy. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's really hard. And then managing the triggers also, because for me, the hardest part is managing the triggers in the very beginning. And the easiest way for me to manage my triggers in the very beginning was to, let's say, every single time I wanted to reach for a drink, and I thought, oh, okay, I gave myself this year, just moving through, like be the seer, be the observer in the experience of those feelings that you're experiencing and observe those feelings. Don't act on them and just see how you feel. And if you have to write down what you feel and, see how that affects you through each trigger, because every trigger might be a little bit different. And don't act on it. And then see how you feel when you don't act on that trigger. And then the triggers fade away because you're controlling the thoughts in your mind. And when you're controlling those monkey mind thoughts, then you're really like going to be in control of your life at that point. And then you'll be able to manage those triggers like, oh no, I got this. I can do this. And that's how I got through my whole entire year.
That's amazing. So inspiring. So tell me about in this year, like you said, you've just had amazing transformation. So what has come about since you quit drinking?
So so I quit drinking November 1st. And then I started my my podcast, High Vibe Health, on February 2nd. So 2/2/2022. I'm really big with numbers. I love numbers. And so that was my first podcast episode. And I have 20 episodes now, maybe 21 or something like that. And that has been so much fun. I created a business on health, wellness, and healing. So that's basically teaching yoga. I began to love creating meditations. So I love writing out meditations and then verbalizing them. So I've learned that I actually can create meditations. I had no idea that I could, but I've always wanted to in the back of my mind. I just didn't know how to act on it. And so I teach yoga on a regular basis. I teach yoga through philanthropy, charity events. I love teaching yoga to, any type of charity that will have me. And so I've been doing, free yoga classes at this beautiful state park called Spring Mountain Ranch. in Las Vegas, and that's one of my favorite things to do. And let's see what else. I I've been doing a lot of trainings, and it's time to pause on the trainings. Like I'm going through your deep dive training right now, and I'm loving it. I'm loving the community. One of the biggest transformations that I've experienced is learning a sense of community and finding the people that resonate with me the most, because we all need that in our lives. And when we quit drinking, it's almost kind of like we feel so isolated. And if we feel isolated, then we're likely to go back to our old habits.
Yeah.
So finding community in a place like the mindful life practice it's been one of the best things for me. And I'm so happy that I found it. I found Alex through, I was searching Sober Curious teacher trainings, and your teacher training was the only one out there. And I had this vision of doing Sober Curious circles and 30-day challenges and 60-day challenges and all of that. And your teacher training was the only one that I could find, and it resonated with me more than anything, because you're just this like amazing person and so inspiring, and all the people that you bring towards you are just the same, so inspiring. And everybody has a wealth of knowledge on yoga and mindfulness and community, and it's just amazing.
I'm so glad that you found us, and you've been such an integral member of our community. So Shanna did the 30-hour Sober Curious yoga teacher training this spring, and then she did some circles for our community, and now she's in the deep dive, and she was our guest speaker last week in our Sober Curious speaker series. And I just think back to all of these like connections and think about like if we hadn't gone alcohol free or gone sober, we like never would know each other, which is pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
Yeah, it's really cool going into the chats and seeing people again and again, and all the same familiar faces, and it's almost like them in real life. And I've never met you ever, but I feel like I know you because we see each other through Zoom on a regular basis. And same with all the other people. When you're doing somebody's yoga class online, you don't even have to leave your house. You can do their yoga class online, and it feels like you're participating in a class with other people.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And to think, 3 years ago, we would have never even imagined that this would be a thing and it would be possible.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. There's always blessings that come with, scary things like COVID happening worldwide. And this came out of that. And it's, I just want to help you spread the word. Your community is so big and beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much, Shanna. So I'm wondering, what are some of the biggest things that you learned along your sober journey?
So I learned, there's so much. To meditate. One of the biggest things that's helped me get through all of my experiences is meditation. And I keep getting reminded this on a regular basis because of my busy schedule and my busy life. And sometimes I will fall behind and not meditate. And I had a meeting with a psychic just last week, and she told me, I totally forgot about the meeting that I created, like I booked her, and she texted me and she's like, "Are you around?" She told me that my energy was like up here, like spiraling. And if you think about the Yoga Sutras, the first one, 1.2, and it talks about the monkey mind, like the chaos in the mind, and how you're not going to be able to progress in life if you are regressing in your mind thoughts, if that makes sense. So my energy was up here because I didn't meditate, and I'm just all over the place. And it made me realize that stillness is one of the most important things if you want to, progress to be a better version of yourself. And any kind of stillness, really, it's just quieting the thoughts in the mind. And, that's where the creativity happens too. And that's where the magic happens. And that's how you learn. And that's how you learn how to navigate life and stressful situations. And it's not through picking up the next drink and putting a Band-Aid on it. It's by, finding stillness and getting to know yourself better. So I've learned a lot about myself through finding stillness.
That's so true. And it's so interesting that you point that out, because I was actually just having a conversation right before we started this live. So I just taught a yoga class, and I was saying to the group that I haven't been feeling well today. And it's really interesting when you go back, you trace back all your steps and you're like, okay, what was I eating? Did I drink enough water? What did I do? And I realized how I started my day today so I go out for a walk every morning, but this morning when I went out for my walk, there's one of the things that I don't like about Bali is that people don't leave their dogs on leashes. So there's like a lot of dogs just like wandering about. And these two dogs just really scared me, like jumping on me and wouldn't get off of me. And I ended up kind of getting cornered back into my house. And then I was standing in the house being like, what do I do? Because I still want to go for my walk. And anyway, I was recounting this story being like, it's amazing when you trace back to like how I started my day. And that was kind of a situation beyond my control, but it was like, I was immediately in the sympathetic nervous system of like, oh my God, I'm panicked, I'm scared. What do I do? And then it has this ripple effect through your whole day where I just didn't feel well. And I was doing all the things, like I was drinking water, I was eating what I was supposed to. And then to be able to pinpoint just the value of like that nice, peaceful start to the morning, which sometimes it's beyond our control. But if we can get ourselves into that state of stillness, it has this ripple effect through the rest of the day.
Yes. Oh, I did. That's a crazy story. And it's so true. Just that fight or flight mode can affect you for the whole day. And if you don't give yourself even 5 minutes to just calm down and, block yourself from all those crazy thoughts and try to find peace, it'll help a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I need to meditate before I leave for my walk, I think.
That's a good idea.
So
but even walking is a meditation, but even if you're walking and you're like mindfully walking and you're like doing the sights and sounds and all of that, if two dogs are coming your way, there's nothing you can do about it,
So
especially if it terrifies you.
So true. But I have to say, I ordered a bike for rental. I've been thinking about getting a bicycle for so long. And then this was the final point where I was like, you know what? I need my morning time outside. But if I'm on a bicycle, then the dogs can't like scare me so much because I'll just bike right by them. So I'm literally getting a bicycle delivered tomorrow. So that's my plan. I'll meditate and then I'll do a morning ride instead of a morning walk. So we'll see how that goes.
Can't wait to hear about that experience. I saw the dogs and they were far away and I was just riding along.
So I'm wondering, we were chatting a little bit and we had you as a guest speaker in our speaker meeting on the weekend. And I think that was 2 weeks ago. And people were asking you about the different social things that you've done since you've been sober. So I'm just wondering, how has it been navigating the social dynamics?
The social dynamics have gotten easier over the year. I went on, I don't know. I at this point, I don't even know how many vacations I went on, but 11 or 12 vacations in the last year. And I got to go to Europe. I went to 5 countries in Europe, Canada. I've been all over the US. I went on a girls' trip. I was just telling you all about the girls' trip in Nashville. And that was really interesting because when you go on it's basically a mom's trip to Nashville and you're away from the kids and away from the husband and you're in this party scene. Everybody is drinking, right? And all your friends are drinking. It's just, like the first thing you think of is like, how am I going to navigate that situation? And for me, it was getting past the first drink before everybody, got their buzz and got drunk. And so that celebratory time when everybody was getting their favorite drink in that first round, I would create a celebratory experience around my first drink. I would, maybe ask the waiter, what is your signature cocktail? Or, I never loved beer before, but now I love the non-alcoholic beers. And most restaurants will have non-alcoholic beer. I've learned to absolutely love the craft in the beer and love the flavor of it. And it tastes identical as a regular beer, maybe without the kick. I mean, I can't even tell the difference. I think somebody stole my beer last night at my friend's house when we were about ready to go trick-or-treating. My Heineken Zero wasn't even in the fridge anymore, and I was the only one that wasn't drinking. But getting through that first drink is imperative, because then what happens after that first drink is everybody starts getting buzzed and drunk, and then they're not even watching you. They're not paying attention to you. You just have fun with your drink. And remember, first thing in the morning, how amazing you're going to feel when you're not hungover. And so that helps me, get through those times. And I danced probably more than all my friends. I was out there on the dance floor the whole time. I was singing with all the country singers. I went and got up on stage and did karaoke, totally alcohol free. And it felt way better because I felt so present. And I rode the bull, and I'm pretty good on the bull, I have to say. But I did all that completely sober, and I felt amazing the next day. I would get up early in the morning while everybody else is still sleeping and do my own yoga practice, because I teach yoga. I can remember all the flow. But if you don't teach yoga, if you want to do that and you're trying to think of what you can do, you can go for a walk first thing in the morning, or you can go and have coffee downstairs in the lobby if you're on vacation, or, you can pick up the Mindful Life Practice app and take a yoga class on there. And they have so many, on-demand classes. And there's so many things you can do, when everybody else is sleeping, and you can just have that clarity.
So true. And the mornings become a really special time when, I'll never forget. Actually, this was one of my favorite moments when I was 150 days sober. It was my sister's wedding, and it was a 3-day weekend event where there were multiple nights. There were 10 of us all staying in a cabin at summer camp. And I just remember waking up in the morning and everyone was so hungover, they just couldn't get out of bed. And I was I bounced out of bed and was I want breakfast. And I just had so much energy. And that was such a good motivator for me of look at all of the amazing things I can do in the morning now that I'm not hungover. I can really enjoy this moment. And so I love that you highlighted that.
Yeah. And also playing tennis. So if you create a hobby, or, something that you love to do, exercise is the best. So any type of exercise is good. For me, I took on tennis. Well, I played tennis before, but let me tell you, when I was drinking, and if I had a lesson or whatever, I may skip the lesson, or I would be 50% during the lesson, and I would be dehydrated, and I, couldn't wait for the lesson to be over, and it wasn't fun for me. So now it's so much fun for me. I have so much energy. My tennis lessons are at 9:00 in the morning. I drop my kids off to school, make their lunch. I get up really early in the morning, which I love because I love going to bed early. And, I do my match, and I just feel amazing the whole day because of it.
Yeah,
so any
that's incredible.
exercise. Yeah.
So true. And finding the right one for you, there's going to be certain things that might work at different times in your life, or certain things that resonate, and finding one that you really enjoy. So it's not so it's something that you look forward to.
Yeah. Because if you do it Okay, so I had a membership at Lifetime Gym here in Las Vegas, and it became a chore for me. I had the membership forever, but I never went. I only went maybe once a month, maybe. And it was not a cheap membership. And I didn't love the process of driving there, walking all the way in, because the walk was actually all the way around the building. It was like a quarter mile just to get inside the gym, and then I had to walk to the third floor and to find out that the class was completely full. And
Oh
just
my
the whole
gosh.
experience of wondering if I'm even going to be able to get a spot, because I'm usually running late,
Yeah.
was it wasn't fun. So by that time I was just over it, and I found myself sitting in my car on multiple occasions just thinking, do I even want to go in? And I would literally drive away because I, didn't want to go in. It didn't light me up, and
Yeah.
it didn't, excite me. So I cut that membership out, and, tennis is my thing.
That's awesome. I never really practiced tennis. I did very briefly at summer camp one year. I got really into it and I got like a couple of awards, and then I just never carried it on throughout my life. But I've been in a phase now, it's year 3 of my sobriety, and I've been trying to explore new things. So I did like surfing lessons, I did Bahasa Indonesian language lessons, I did boxing for a little while. And maybe tennis will be my next thing, maybe doing tennis lessons. That sounds fun.
I think you would be really good at it.
And it's good to
You're
do
pretty
something
fast and mobile.
and it's good to do something different than yoga, I think.
And yoga, just adding the yoga practice to whatever exercise you love to do is so good, because it, uh, improves strength and flexibility, and it decreases your chance of injury. And there's so many other benefits that, I'm not going to go over that, but yeah, even if you just do 1 or 2 yoga practices a week on top of the exercise that you're doing, it's pretty magical.
So true. So I have one more question for you. And this has been amazing, by the way, for hearing your story and being able to celebrate with you on your 1 year sober. It's just been awesome. And I'm wondering if you could share with the group. So if there was one piece of advice or wisdom you would give to like a younger version of yourself who was still not yet at that place of choosing sobriety, what would that wisdom be?
It would definitely be the fact that I already knew it in my head. I was telling it to myself in my head that I didn't want to be the mom to raise my children the way I was raised. And it took, 12 years for me to figure that out with my daughter. But finally, here I am. So now I get to raise a teenager, all through her teenage years without being the drinking mom. And I get to be I get to show her that you can have fun and live a fulfilling life without drinking, and you can still have the best time ever and still live a life full of joy. So I would definitely tell the younger version of me, thinking about drinking when all my friends are drinking, that one day you won't want to, because you want to set a good example for your children. You don't want to be like, you don't want to grow up like you grew up. I'm trying to talk to my younger version right now, and so it's kind of hard doing that, but yeah, so that's what I would do. And I don't know if I would have listened to myself, because each of our stories are so unique. And, I don't know if I would be who I am today, and I wouldn't love life so much if I didn't go through what I went through as a drinker. And so I got to see it from that perspective, but I also got to see it from a non-drinker's perspective as well, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And that just gave me shivers, honestly, because I just think it's so beautiful and amazing to think, our children are really impacted by what they see around them and the culture that they see around alcohol in their house. And so the fact that you can be that role model for your daughter, I just think that's going to be so inspiring for her.
Yeah. And then, so I have two daughters now too. So they both see it, and uh, their school, sometimes they talk about it, in school, like a parent is struggling or something like that. And they think, oh, wow, my mom's not struggling, and they just feel so good about that. And my husband doesn't drink. He hasn't drank for 10 years. So he's been a really big motivator for me as well. And, he had his struggles before he decided to quit drinking. And he realized, hey, this isn't working in my life anymore. And, it took me 10 years 10 years after him, because I thought, hey, I'm just a mom and trying to live my life like everybody else. And, it just didn't work in my life anymore.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this has been so amazing, so inspiring. And I really appreciate you getting up at 6 a.m. to be here today to do this live with me. And I'm sure that so many people listening and tuning in are probably going to have so many takeaways from it. So thank you so much, Shanna.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, if anybody has any questions at all, I'm happy to answer. And I'm happy to help support whoever, on your journey, if you are interested in quitting as well. Thank you, Alex.
Amazing. Thank you.
Hi, friend. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Sober Yoga Girl podcast. This community wouldn't exist without you here, so thank you. It would be massively helpful if you could subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast so it can reach more people. If we haven't met yet in real life, please come get your 1-week free trial of the Sober Girls Yoga membership and see what we're all about. Sending you love and light wherever you are in the world.